Marcus moved silently through the gleaming halls of the towering tech company where he worked the night shift as a janitor. Each step echoed in the empty building, his cart creaking softly as he cleaned office after office. In his shirt pocket, close to his heart, he kept a small photograph of his daughter, Lily. Her bright smile was the only light that kept him going during the long, weary nights. No one at the company knew his story. They saw only the uniform, the mop, the quiet man who never complained. What they didn't know was that Marcus had once been a brilliant young engineer, a rising star destined for Silicon Valley greatness. But everything changed the day his wife passed away. Left alone with a toddler, Marcus made a choice. He walked away from his dreams to raise Lily, choosing fatherhood over fame. He took any job that gave him the flexibility to be there for her, even if it meant scrubbing floors instead of designing the future. Now, years later, Marcus was just another janitor in the eyes of the company. But every night, as he wiped down whiteboards still filled with equations and codes, he couldn't help but feel a flicker of what used to be, a mind still sharp, still yearning. His heart carried a quiet strength, the kind born from sacrifice and love. And though no one saw it coming, Marcus's moment was about to arrive, when the world would remember the genius behind the broom. Inside the executive meeting room, tension filled the air like static. The CEO paced furiously while the company's top engineers crowded around a massive screen, lines of code blinking back at them like a countdown. A critical bug in their flagship software had brought everything to a standstill, and with a $100 million contract on the line, time was running out. Voices clashed, fingers pointed, and tempers flared. No one had answers, only excuses and rising panic. Just outside, Marcus was quietly mopping the hallway. He wasn't trying to listen, but years of experience, both as a janitor and as a once gifted engineer, had taught him to pay attention to details. He paused as he heard them describe the issue. A function failure. Data loop errors. He leaned closer. His heart quickened. He'd seen something like this before, years ago. His instincts kicked in. He stood frozen for a moment, gripping the mop tightly. Should he speak up? Would they even listen? Swallowing his fear, he walked up to the door and knocked gently. The room turned, surprised by the interruption. Marcus cleared his throat and said softly but firmly, "Excuse me. I think I know what's causing it." The room went silent. For a long second, no one said a word. A janitor offering advice on a high-level software crisis? The lead engineer nearly laughed, but the CEO, desperate and intrigued, waved him in. That simple knock was about to change everything. The atmosphere in the conference room was thick with disbelief as Marcus stepped cautiously toward the computer. The engineers stood aside, arms crossed, eyes skeptical. The janitor? Fixing their million-dollar problem? It was unthinkable, but the CEO gave a nod. "Let him try," he said quietly. Marcus sat down. The keyboard felt familiar but foreign, it had been years since he'd touched real code. His fingers hovered for a moment, trembling with doubt, then, slowly, they began to move. Like riding a bike, the logic came rushing back. He scanned the lines of code on the screen, eyes sharp, his mind focused. Within seconds, he spotted the loop causing the system to crash. A recursive call left unchecked, something so simple, yet so easy to miss under pressure. With calm precision, Marcus rewrote the function. 3 lines changed. A deep breath. He clicked run. The room held its breath as the program compiled. The system blinked, then stabilized. No errors. No crash. The bug was gone. Dead silence fell. Then, gasps. A disbelieving laugh. One engineer blinked in shock. The lead developer leaned in, staring at the screen, and whispered, "He just saved the company." The CEO slowly turned to Marcus, speechless. What had just happened defied every expectation in that room. The janitor, the man they'd all walked past without a second thought, had solved what no one else could. In mere seconds, Marcus had rewritten not just code, but his future. Later that evening, the CEO sat alone in his office, still shaken by what had happened. He called for Marcus to come in. The janitor entered quietly, his uniform slightly worn, hands still carrying the scent of floor polish. But his presence now felt different, heavier, respected. The CEO looked him over, more curious than ever. "Who are you, really?" he asked. Marcus hesitated, then sat down. He spoke gently, without pride. He told the story of his past. A scholarship to MIT, a promising future in software development. He had been on the edge of something great, building systems that others dreamed about. But everything changed when his wife fell ill. He dropped out, gave up the job offers, and devoted himself fully to raising Lily. "She needed a father more than the world needed another coder," Marcus said simply. The CEO listened in stunned silence. "Why didn't you ever tell anyone?" Marcus smiled faintly. "Would it have changed anything? I didn't need recognition. I just needed a job that let me pick up Lily from school." The CEO's eyes welled up. In that moment, he didn't see a janitor. He saw a man who had made the ultimate sacrifice out of love. A man of quiet brilliance and unshakable character. He stood up, walked over, and extended his hand. "Marcus, I don't just want to offer you a better job. I want to offer you the future you deserve." And in that handshake, everything began to change. A few weeks later, the company's main auditorium buzzed with excitement. Employees filled every seat, murmuring about the mysterious announcement the CEO had promised. The lights dimmed, and the CEO stepped onto the stage with a smile that hinted at something extraordinary. "Today," he began, "we celebrate not just innovation, but humility, heart, and hidden brilliance." He paused, then motioned to the side of the stage. Marcus stepped into the spotlight, wearing a simple blazer, his daughter Lily holding his hand. She looked up at him with pride, eyes sparkling. The CEO's voice rang out, "Our new head of innovation is someone who reminded us that genius can wear any uniform." The room erupted into thunderous applause. Some people stood. Others wiped away tears. Engineers who once dismissed him now clapped the loudest. Marcus looked out at the sea of faces, overwhelmed but grounded, then pulled Lily into a tight embrace. She wrapped her arms around him, smiling with a pride too big for words. In that moment, the janitor became the leader, not because he asked for it, but because he had earned it in the most human way possible. Voiceover. Sometimes, life forces us to pause our dreams. But they're never gone. And when kindness meets courage, miracles happen. The lights glowed warmer, the applause echoed longer, and somewhere in the back, a mop leaned quietly against a wall, no longer needed by the man who once carried it with grace.